Hey, what is going on YouTube? My name is James and welcome back to another video. As you can see, I am joined by my dad. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good, good. So it's been a while since I've had my dad on, so I thought I'd do another video with him. And we usually do Talking with the Kibbles. If you guys haven't seen that series, go check it out. Hopefully we'll get an episode out of that at some point in the future. But I haven't made a video with him for a while, working away a lot and just very, very busy with life. So I thought we'd come down and do a video together. I didn't have any subjects in mind, but I did have a watch that I gave you that I thought maybe we could do a joint review. I don't know how this will work, but we'll just see how it goes. So that watch is the Alpha Seamaster.
So, the one I'm wearing today.
Yeah.
So, very impressed. Let's go through it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, before we do, I'm wearing an Alpha as well. Now, this is another Alpha. I bought an Alpha not long ago, and it was this one. I was choosing between this and the Explorer that you see on my wrist right now, review coming soon. I was choosing between the two, and I went with the Seamaster. And my friend actually purchased me the Explorer, as you can see on my wrist, and I decided to give this one to my dad because 3 Alphas is a lot, and also I do prefer this one to that one just on pure aesthetics. But it's a brilliant watch, and I can't wait to review it for you guys. So let's just jump into it. We'll start with the dimensions.
So basically, you've got 42mm diameter, including the crown, I believe. 20mm lug to lug, and a 15mm depth, because there's a slight dome to the mineral crystal.
Definitely, but it wears a lot thinner than a 15, I find. A lot thinner than 15mm, because the way it sits on the wrist is very, very, very flush. It wears really surprisingly well. In this video, I just want to throw in as well, we're not going to go into the subject of Homage watches, whether they're good or bad. I am planning a video down the line to just do a video just on Alphas and my opinion and what I think and all that kind of stuff. So wait for that, but we're not going to discuss that in this video. So what we can do, should we just go through the pros first of all, what we think are good about the watch? And,
and
sure. Just over this, I'm going to record like this and I'm going to throw B-roll over the top for you guys, so that's what you're going to get. But I think the thing that shocked me the most when I opened it, and it might be the same for you, was just the weight. It is a substantial piece, and the retail price, by the way, is £80. That's how much you can pick this up for. And the weight of this piece just blew me away. I could not believe how just solid feeling the whole thing felt. I think that's fair to say, isn't it? You know, it's very substantial.
Yeah, the quality, build quality is way above the £80 price tag, they've done a great job with that. And I mean, solid end links with the bracelet, which again is a bonus. I mean,
huge surprise. I didn't even realise that when I bought it. I didn't realise it'd have solid end links. So you can imagine my surprise opening a watch that cost £80 and has solid end links. Like, you don't get that with Seiko, you don't get that with Orient, you don't get that with Citizen. You're looking at probably £300 upwards until you start getting solid end links usually.
You end up having to buy aftermarket bracelets just to
get the solid end links. But I just want to throw out that isn't the case with all Alphas. Like the one I'm wearing right now hasn't got solid end links. It's just this model. I'm not too sure why, but maybe it's just cheaper. Or
I think that might be something to do with this. They say that it's a limited edition out of 2,000 pieces.
Okay.
So whether that's something to possibly do, that they've upped the game with it because of the short run, maybe that's something to do with it.
So yeah, that is another thing. Apparently it's limited to 2,000 pieces, and this one is apparently limited to 1,000.
500, I
or was it 500? I don't know how much I believe these things. I'm going to look into it a lot more. But on the case backs that you can buy in Alpha, I don't know if you've seen it. They do have a number / another number. So like my Alpha Daytona Paul Newman does have out of 2,000. Now, I'm not too sure if Alpha do limited runs of all their watches, but I feel like they'd have sold out a long time ago if that was the case. They're you can still buy them now. And plus you get the different variations in straps. Like, does that start a new 2,000 just because it's got a NATO? Like, there's a lot of things I don't know if they quite add up. So I don't know how much I believe the limited edition, but it does say it. So if that is the case, that's really, really cool. But yeah, we've talked about the side end links, and you think the bracelet is really comfortable, don't you?
Yeah, I do. It doesn't pinch and pull your hairs, it fits nicely on the wrist, and it sits comfortably on my. I would assume it's a 6 3/4 inch. I've never actually measured it, but I assume so. I mean, It slightly bulges where the
lugs are.
The lugs are, but I think that's just the type of bracelet it is.
Yeah, I think that's more to do with the size as well. So from lug to lug, you're looking at probably 50 something, maybe close to that.
Yeah, I think it's about 48. I think it said
48 from lug to lug.
Yeah,
really? It's quite small.
So yeah, I'm sure that's what.
But I think that's to do with the lug to lug size and just how it wears on your wrist, more than anything. But yeah, definitely. So the movement it uses is a Seagull 21 dual automatic, which beats at 21,600 beats per hour, which is how smooth it ticks. Now you did do some research and you found that it could very well be the Seagull, because it doesn't give actual details on the website or anywhere. Even if you open the back, which I have, it doesn't have details on the rotor. But you think it might be the TY2806. Is that correct? Is that the name of the Seagull movement?
That's the movement that is a 21 dual Seagull automatic movement with the features of hand of hacking and hand winding,
which is incredible. I want to add for £80 that you do get actual hacking and actual hand winding at 80 quid, and it has a screw down crown as well. I can't believe the amount you get. So this also has a screw down crown. It's the exact same movement. This does have a date feature on the Seamaster. On the Explorer it doesn't, but it has the date position. So you've got 3 positions for a watch with just a normal 3-hand watch, which is quite funny. But it is the same movement, and it's a very, very, very reliable movement. You did some timing, you said, and what did that come out at?
Yeah, I use an app called Tool Watch, and basically over a 12-hour period, I got a plus 7 seconds, which is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, it probably puts it around 15 seconds a day, 15 to 20 seconds, which is totally fine in my opinion. A lot of my watches run around that. The only watches that don't are like the Aurus and the exceptional watches, so I think that's very, very fair for an £80 watch. Yeah. And if you want accuracy, go for quartz.
Yeah,
don't bother with one of these. But
I mean, overall, I think Alpha have done a great job of appreciating the features of the Seamaster, including the wave dial, which I think really adds a great aesthetic to the finishing of it. The hands themselves are the Bond hands, as they call them. The loom on it isn't the best, but we'll go into that. But the actual indices and the red end of the second hand is great. I think
definitely. And there's a little green. There's a little green pip as well at the date aperture, which is very, very nice, and it goes well with the blue and red, definitely. And I think what we forgot to mention as well is why it is paying homage to. Obviously, being called the Alpha Seamaster, it's paying homage to the Omega Seamaster. Not just any though, it's the Pierce Brosnan wave dial, which is from the 90s, if I'm not mistaken, 90s, early 2000s, which they don't make anymore. Still very accessible.
I think they actually call it a 1993 or 93 or something.
Oh, is it? Is it?
I mean, Alpha were created, were formed in 93, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
So whether that's the relation to that, that's something that some reviews have said about it.
Okay, fair. We'll go into more detail about Alpha themselves as a brand, because I think it's quite interesting where they sort of came from and how they came about, which was, as you can guess, Alpha, Omega's logo, Alpha's logo. It's very they focused on Omega at the start, and I think they have done a great job with this, as you were saying. It really does look great. Just to sort of go on the subject of homages, it is very, very, very close to what Omega is, apart from obviously it says Alpha rather than Omega. And I think, as rumours have it, these may come out of the same factories that do the replicas. I'm sure you've heard this sort of stuff. I don't know. It's the same with Parnis. Apparently they all come from the same sort of place. Parnis is just a name they throw on. I don't know how true that is. I don't think anyone knows how true that is, to be honest. I think it is all just rumour. But I have to be frank, it is very close to it. In looks. Obviously feel-wise there's a big difference. But looks-wise definitely. And I think they've done a great job if that's what they're going for.
A nice feature with the
I'll show you guys closer up on the B-roll,
is the dive extension. It's nicely finished.
It's very solid as well.
And when it clicks in, it clicks in. You know, it's a robust bracelet, well machined, and it's got like a good weight to it. you know, and the build quality is pretty good. You know, for £80, you can't really go wrong.
Definitely not. We'll get onto the clasp in a little bit and the cons of the clasp and the cons of the bracelet in general. I think there's a few things that I would like to mention as well, definitely, when we get onto the cons.
Of course.
I'm hoping we do have different opinions in this review because it will just make it more interesting. If not, we both just like the watch at the end of the day. So obviously it's using 316L stainless steel, which is just normal machine grade steel. Comes on most watches. I think most of the 316L, apart from Rolex 904L. That's pretty much it. It's got a mineral crystal, which has a very slight dome, and in certain angles it does warp the dial, which looks great. I don't think the Omega has a dial like a dome like that.
I'm not sure.
Pretty sure it's a flat crystal.
I think it might be.
Might be wrong though. But that's a pretty cool feature.
I've gone through the screw down crown.
So that's pretty much our pros of the watch. Overall, build quality is a big with this one. I think for £80, they've really smashed the build quality. I don't know how they've done it, personally, knowing what other watches charge and the quality of that watch. It's really surprising to me how they've managed to throw that in. I think the movement is great. A lot of people say bad things about Seagull. At the end of the day, the only thing I found with Seagull, which I haven't experienced myself yet, thankfully, is quality control. Obviously, they pump out a lot of movements and it's just, they're all bundled together. So apparently, you get a few dead ones every now and again and all that. I haven't experienced that, and I've had a lot of Seagulls so far. I've had nothing but good experiences with them, and I hope that continues. But it's just something I want to throw out there for you guys. But let's go on to the cons of this watch, because there are some. Even at its £80 price point, I think they're worth mentioning. So, you think the clasp is a bit flimsy?
Yeah, the actual deployment, I don't think is that robust. I think a double deployment would have been a lot better with the over.
The fold over.
Yeah, the old fold over clasp. I think that would have protected it, because that just seems to open incredibly easy. That's the sort of finishing of it. I think sort of lets it down.
Massively, yeah. I think one thing to mention as well, what I found with it, I don't know if you found the same. It feels like it's got two connections when the clasp closes. It's like this first one, and then the second one is when it's down. Now, I've never ever experienced it opening on its own. It's very robust in that sense. But what I find is it always coming out into the second position. You can't pull it from that second position. You still have to press the buttons. But I find it's never flush. It's always popped up a little bit, but it's never come open. Which is
you
good,
can feel it when you push it.
There's like two positions.
As it clicks.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One thing I also want to mention about the clasp, the dive extension's great. But how ridiculous to have a dive extension on a watch that's rated 50 meters.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good feature, and I appreciate it, but I think it's pretty stupid on a watch that you can't go diving with.
Yeah.
Personally. You were saying about the loom as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the loom isn't brilliant. It doesn't last very long. And just having it on the ends of the actual hands themselves, rather than the length of the hands, which I believe the Omega does have, just make it a little bit less legible at night. And like I say, the loom doesn't last very long at all.
No. And that's something to be said with all Alphas. I found the loom is just terrible. On most of them as well, the hands are different loom to the pips. I don't know if that's the case with that one. Have you noticed?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so it's, the hands are always different loomed.
They've got a different
and it doesn't last as long as the one on the dial, which just confuses me, but that's what they use. One big thing I think we need to definitely mention is that bezel. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's very flimsy.
Has a lot of play.
It's got incredible amount of play. We will show you.
And it doesn't line up properly, I found either.
You're forever having to sort of click it round, and then you're having to go through the whole rotation to get it right. And
it's
then
unidirectional. It's unidirectional because it's a diving bezel.
Yeah.
It's a terrible bezel, and I think that's one big thing that laid down in my books. And also what I found is the alignment of the bezel's terrible, in the sense of the because it's got the same bezel outline around the bezel, the metal part, the way it's textured, like the real Omega. Yeah. But the real Omega, it sort of lines up, so where it pins down, the 30's there, you know what I mean? It's like in line, whereas this isn't. You can tell they've just got the bezel and just put the bezel on and just slapped it on. So there's no alignment, no proper alignment to the actual shape of the bezel, which is just, it annoyed me massively. I was going to try and take it out, but I just don't dare.
I have heard when somebody who actually went swimming with it, the bezel popped out. That's what I've heard. So
yeah.
Whether it's just a design fault that on that particular one, I don't know.
There is
but
so there is in certain areas I noticed when you sort of push it down, you can hear like a pop, like it's not all the way down. But I've got the same thing with my Rivolo when I did the review of that.
Oh, right,
same thing with that, where certain parts you can hear it popping up and down. It's not down properly, so that is a fault of the watch, definitely. And it's just a shame, really, because the bezel is terrible, and obviously it moves, so it affects. I think they'd have been better off even just putting a fixed bezel on, to be honest, because you're not going diving with it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it would have definitely abused the purpose of it. But I think it probably would have been better. In that sense. Another thing you wanted to talk about was the pins.
Yeah, it surprised me because they've actually got screws in a couple of the places, but for the adjustment where you take the pins out, well, you're supposed to take out to shorten the actual bracelet. They're pins rather than screws, which surprised me because the screws visibly on the bracelet, so they have made the effort of putting them. But when you actually go to adjust it, they are physical pins.
Yeah, they're just
it's just a solid. It's just a solid pin that goes all the way through the whole lot. It's not even going through the individual sections, so you know you're not having to go both ways. As well, so,
when you take the pins out, I'll get some close-ups for you guys of the individual pins that have been taken out. They're very, very horrible inside, aren't they?
They're ones that
they're like stuck together.
If you hit them in the wrong place, they'll split. Yeah, because they're split pins. That's what they are.
No, not the pins. I'm talking about.
Sorry.
But yeah, that's how pins. That's how pins are. They are split pins.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the links themselves.
Oh yeah, the actual.
They feel like they're glued together.
Yeah.
Like it's like 5 individual parts.
Yeah.
And it literally, when you feel the individual pin, it feels like they're just glued together.
Yeah.
And it feels like they could come apart any moment. That's what I found. And you've put not recommended for swimming. I think that's completely dependent on which one you get. So they're not pressure tested as far as I know.
Right.
So what you're best to do is take it to a watchmaker, get it pressure tested, and see what you can do. It's rated 5 ATM, which is 50 meters. I have very comfortably taken that specific one and this specific one, and even my other Alpha. Into the shower, into water, into rain. I've submerged them, like testing them out, and they seem to be okay.
Right.
From my experience, but obviously it just depends on you and whether you even want to do it. At the end of the day, get an SKX super cheap or a Monster. Yeah, that can be your swimming watch.
Absolutely.
I'd say avoid it. It'll be fine in the rain. It has got a screw down crown, and I've not experienced any issues with them so far. Another thing I want to mention on the clasp as well, it's not got micro adjustments. Which I find irritating because you can't get the perfect fit. You're either one link too short, one link too tight, and then it's got a diving extension, which is an extra, I don't even know, an inch. Like it's a pretty big extension.
It is a big extension. Yeah.
So it's not at all useful to get that perfect fit. So getting a perfect fit with the bracelet is an annoyance from what I found. But overall, I think for 80 quid, the amount of watch you get is just incredible for 80 quid. And a lot of people give Alpha a lot of hassle because of what they do. Fair, like they create homage watches. I think that's acceptable. Like what the crap that they get from people. But I think for 80 quid you're getting so much watch, and I don't see how you can go wrong if this is what you're looking for. If you're looking for a design that's original, obviously don't go with Alpha. I find it hilarious that I have to mention this in every video. Everyone says go for something original. If you're buying Alpha, you probably don't want that original look. You want something that looks like something else. So if that's what you're after, I think Alpha offer a great price and offer great quality as well. Is there anything else you want to say on it?
No, I mean I've had it for a week now, and it's reliable, and it does everything that I want in a watch. So
can't go wrong, especially for 80 quid. So I will be reviewing the Explorer. At some point. If there's any other watches you guys would like to see me review, let me know. And I will be doing a video on Alpha as a brand and watch company altogether, hopefully in a few weeks as well. So keep an eye out for all that. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Peace out.